And now I'll introduce Jausten, who will talk about the virtual summit that was hosted by Searle last October. So,
okay, good morning. All right, so in lieu of Searle's annual summit in DC, they did a virtual summit and they gathered some videos from the community. And so in this session, we're going to just showcase some clips from those videos. And then at the end, we're going to review the process if you'd like to gain access to those full videos. So this first video is going to be USDA Builder data collection, lessons learned. And then Joshua Nye was a contributor to this video. Joshua is online on WebEx. And Joshua, I'm going to unmute you so that if you have anything that you'd like to add during this portion, you can speak up.
The intent of this submission is to share the lessons learned following a 5-year data collection of 13.1 million square feet of various building types. Assess was the chosen topic area. In the planning and development stages, our problem statement was to collect quality, unbiased data from seasoned assessors in conjunction with good cost and life cycle data to make the most effective capital investment, asset management, and modernization decisions possible. ARS wanted to prioritize laboratory buildings over support buildings, utilize the functionality portion of Builder, and to get the best data possible for the least amount of money. And ARS set unique work triggers by unit format to prioritize critical systems. ARS has specific standards in place that will do things like generate work 1 to 2 years early to give time for implementation. Here's where we get into the policy sequence and how we run our prioritization scheme. Here you'll see how we prioritize roofing, HVAC, fire protection, and electrical over things like the furnishings, the interior construction, more aesthetically pleasing systems versus systems that have a more critical result if failure occurs. Systems here using condition index. So you'll see as you get into the much lower overall CI of an item, it will help to elevate it. We developed a briefing agenda to send out to the locations to give them an idea of what to expect, what we were hoping to get from them to support the assessment, and how to exchange the information, which means the assessors might only observe a portion of the building systems functioning at the time that they are boots on the ground during that assessment. A great example one of our assessors uses in the field is, if we were on site for a week and it doesn't rain, we wouldn't know about any roof leaks unless the site lets us know. Of course, there are symptoms of ongoing roof leaks, but it applies to roof leaks that are just developing, and it's a really good example that everyone can relate to in the field.
For the remainder of the videos, if you're in the room and you contributed to any of the clips, feel free to raise your hand and Kelly can get you a mic if you'd like to contribute anything. So this next clip is going to be improving maximum project planning costs generated by Builder. Jonathan Crittenden with Definitive Logic contributed, as well as Letitia Soto-Daniels and Dwayne Hodgins with HDR.
The agenda for the presentation is overview of the Navy's use of Builder, understanding impacts of asset cost, Builder validation study, technical approach to update asset costs, and improving asset cost across snapback. In order to understand how the Navy uses Builder, we must explain the Navy's Enterprise Maximo system. At a Navy Public Works Department, this program is the primary tool utilized for work induction. Continuing to understand how the Navy utilizes Builder, this graphic shows the Navy's asset data flow between the Navy's Enterprise Maximo, the Navy's ICAP assessments, Builder, and the facility requirements generated based on the ICAP assessment direct condition ratings.
The study that was commissioned by the Corps of Engineers with project time and cost provided updated work breakdown structure ratios by master system for 23 commonly MILCON types of facilities or construction category numbers. The key findings from the study were that the highest percentage of estimated costs fell within the D30 HVAC master system. These 4 master systems had an average of more than 10% of the entire 100% PRV model. The biggest takeaway that the Navy understands most of its 120 billion in shore PRV of buildings is attributable to admin facilities.
We've highlighted 3 key indicators to check the accuracy of asset cost. First, plant replacement value versus sum of components. Inaccurate asset cost within Maximo will provide an inaccurate picture of asset replacement cost. In John's example, he showed the relationship between expected sum of asset replacement cost to PRV. This is a good check to see if your asset costs are accurate.
To help with the standardization of the inventory methodology across the Navy, a guide was developed that integrates the Maximo catalog with business rules and lessons learned. This guide is similar in form to some of the widely used builder manuals and is a document that sets forth a standard for day-to-day Navy use, as well as a BOSS or AE contractor scope of work that includes Maximo data collection efforts.
Okay, this next clip is on the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the construction industry and costs. And Juan Davila Perez from SMS Technical Center of Expertise contributed.
I want to present to you an ongoing research that I started back in May of 2020 and called the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the construction industry and costs. This research comes with the curiosity to understand the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic as a black swan event, meaning that it was very unexpected, but it's already known the major impact that it's going to have in the future. The COVID-19 pandemic is an unexpected event affecting multiple sectors in the country, including the construction industry and the facility management fields, by adding new unknowns and contingencies. As the Sustainment Management Systems or SMS platform is a leader in the field, it's necessary to prepare its teams, adjust its algorithms, and inform its customers of uncertainty and possible change. These activities depend on the presence of people to work, collaborate, and make deals. Recently, some technology advantage have been applied to construction, which reduce involving having many people on the job site. Still, the majority is not digital yet. More than 60% of the labor has to be done in person. Most sectors and their communities in it have evolved in the course of history. Normal historical human adaptation will increase change in a linear rate, but technology modernization behaves exponentially. Challenges from the pandemic will speed up the change of how work and other activities are done in the future, and that's what some experts are calling now the coronavirus accelerant.
All right, so next we have which Builder KPIs should be used to manage buildings. Contributors were Steve Desrossiers from Alpha Facility Solutions and Alex Gray, also from Alpha Facility Solutions.
Title of the presentation is KPIs in Management. We will define what we mean by the term management. We will define 4 populations of builder configurations. We will ask the questions that the presentation will answer. We will review the simulation used to answer the questions, and then we will show the results and our conclusions. Fortunately for us, Builder provides us with good measures or key performance indicators, KPIs. Since we are dealing with building condition, the only way to improve the KPIs is to spend money on the building. When the KPI drops below a target level, you spend money and it should make the KPI rise above the target level. The DoD has a goal of keeping the FCI at or above an 80. So we used 80 as the FCI target. There is no standard for BCI, but the boundary from amber to red at the building level is 69.5, so we use this value for this study. The builder community is split into 2 groups when it comes to inventory requirements. Those that inventory all the systems, the full inventory group, and those that inventory only some sections, which is the partial inventory group. Here is a plot of the CSCIs of the non-renewable systems. We chose to do 100-year simulations, so ideally the non-renewable systems would have the blue curve. The actual inventory resulted in a composite curve represented by the red line. Here are the questions we hope to answer with this presentation. For each of the 5 population groups identified, can a single KPI manage the building? And if you manage with 1 KPI, will the other 2 KPIs stay above their target values? Would using all 3 KPIs produce better management? And finally, what is the cost difference between the different populations?
Next up, we have Facility Investment Analysis Developments. Contributors are Carrie Heischman with Definitive Logic and Buddy Bartels with SMS Technical Center of Expertise.
So we'd like to start a little bit about talking about the overall complexity of the Army's asset management system. So it's definitely the largest facility portfolio in the US and probably one of the largest ones in the world. They have over 500,000 assets in their inventory, and this includes buildings, structures, linear assets, and these assets are spread across the globe. 150 different installations. And what makes that really interesting is that each installation has its own mission with different tenants, and each of these missions and tenants come with their unique needs and, of course, facility needs. So Army takes the data and information from all these different systems and starts to use that information to build the Installation Program Evaluation Group, or IIPEG, and that's about a $17 billion portfolio. So kind of took a step back and wanted to look at the overall asset management system and used ISO 55000 as kind of the framework to measure that. So those that aren't familiar with ISO 55000, it's an international standard that helps measure and kind of provide the framework for best practices and standards to help, most importantly, kind of add value to the overall process. And
talking about infrastructure data, we're talking about condition and mission and quantity. And I leave it generic there because what we did last year with FIA, the condition and the mission data, which is the quality and functionality data, it was both of those were coming out of ISR, the Installation Status Report from the Army. But moving forward this year, as more and more SMS Builder data comes online, there's going to be Builder data intermixed with ISR data for the Q data, for the condition data. From that, we can develop these unconstrained requirements, which you can see, continue to ramp up due to the degradation algorithms in there.
This next clip is on the future of virtual assessments, and Kurt Sorensen with DIGON was the contributor. Would you like to say anything, Kurt?
I'm here to talk about the limitations of travel restricting the ability for large assessment teams to go out in the field and do their job. The costs and risks of that travel are growing, so here at DIGON we're exploring options for these facility condition assessments to continue and be more responsive to the changing conditions of the day. Countless organizations are figuring out how to work remotely when they never thought it was possible before. Whether it be now during the current pandemic or after, I think we as a community need to explore options to lower costs and lower the risk of travel for any number of reasons in the future. DIGON is certainly not alone in exploring options to keep assessments moving forward during this quarantine and travel restrictions. I've heard stories of assessment teams getting photos sent to them in hundreds and thousands to try to do a desktop assessment. So after some research, purchased a quite inexpensive fisheye camera. It has 2 lenses, and decided to work with HDR on our current project that's doing training video collection to see if we could see if this is viable for the builder assessment community. I want to mention that the first tool that we explored was Matterport. It has an integrated hardware and software solution and has seen great adoption in the real estate industry. And the reason is, quite frankly, that the end product is beautiful. So this is what they call their dollhouse view. And then if you want to click in to say, all right, let me see this room, you have a screen that you can then see each one of those circles represents another shot. And then once you're in this environment, you can also use their measurement tools. So if you have a new wall finish that you want to measure for a section, you can say, well, what is my height? And then width. Let's add another one and scroll up a little bit. And that wall section is roughly 9.1 by 9.5. But it really gives you the flexibility to kind of navigate and pretend like you were walking through the building and go into each room and look around and see what you can find.
All right, next up we have Builder data visualization in Power BI. All right. And the contributor was Buddy Bartels with SMS Technical Center of Expertise.
Creating for Builder and even some of our other kind of SMS related projects, which are all based in the Power BI, the Microsoft Power BI environment. We were finally able to acquire a Microsoft Power BI premium license, so we can offer premium embedded capacity, and it's all in the GovCloud, in the Azure GovCloud. And what that allows us to be able to do is to allow CAC access, CAC-enabled access into these dashboard environments. But I want to talk about the data inputs that are sitting behind these. So, you know, the first option just being Builder data only. So we've kind of worked to a point where we have a pretty nice standard template, which is what I'm going to show you first. User agreement terms, and then so the site I put in is the Army site just for Compo 1. But you can see again that map, and this one's just based on lat long at the site level, and then you know have some standard visuals, and it's up here. But if I click on AMC, you know now I have an option to going to that command level scorecard, and so there's some other visuals here. Again, we keep the map here. There's some standard KPIs on the left, and then there's options to drill even further into these installation categories. And I'm going to drill through to the site, and again, it's still, you know, kind of looking in that similar template format, but there starts to be a few more things added in here and there. Like now, I have these complexes, and so at McAllister, it looks like these complexes are broken down by how the contractor is organizing those buildings as they go out and do their assessment.
Last, we have the registration process if you'd like to view this content in full. You can go to the SMS training website right here. And then to view the content, you can visit the SMS support portal and enter a new ticket. And you can fill out these fields right here. And if you have any issues doing that, you can also email SMS support at this address right here, and just include all of this information in the body of your message. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. So definitely recommend getting in there and seeing the main videos. We just clipped, a minute or two, because watching the video is something you can do anytime. We're going to also take another break here and set up for our next panel. So don't go too far, because you have 15 minutes when we're going to be starting the next session, and that is going to be the COVID response. No. Yes. Sure. So it seemed like people perked up a little bit about the virtual thing, because the view is quite attractive. So I'll take just 2 minutes. All of those answers are in the video. The Matterport solution is a full 3D rendering of the building. So to accomplish that, you have an iPad or an iPhone that is controlling your 3D camera, and you just put the camera on a tripod, take a picture, take it down another 6 feet, take another picture, and you're just stitching together all of these pictures to create that view. It does not allow for partial obfuscation of potential security issues, so you would have to be careful about that. The Matterport is really attractive, but not time efficient. To gather the big chapel took me 4 hours, and even then afterwards I had to do a bunch of post-processing to make it look right, because even the camera, because I wasn't using Matterport hardware, I was using just a Ricoh camera, it wasn't precise. So one second, let me answer his question and I'll get back to you. Construction site is another option that I just explored, and it was actually much better, because you take a picture of a drawing and then you do a 3D camera location and you place it on the drawing. So if you're in a mechanical room, you say, I'm going to be in this corner, take this picture, take this corner, take this picture, take this corner, take this picture. So you cannot walk through the building like a 3D rendering, but if you look down at the top view of a layout, then you say, I want to go look in that room. You hit that room, and those 4 pictures show up, and they're panoramic. So construction site is really fast, because you don't need every space. You can just take the critical things where you know you need a section, and you're already looking at a layout. So as long as you have a layout, you can avoid being in people's personal space or looking at secure elements, and you can still capture a really cool end product. So construction site, if anybody wants to see or play with the hardware, let me know. We've got the 3D camera, and I thought it was a viable option that 2 people could really walk through a site, as long as they have drawings, capture enough information and enough pictures and videos, and then have somebody else at the desktop do the review. Construction site. Yeah. And then, yeah, question in the back. We contacted both the project manager at COR that we were doing the training videos on and got clearance for that. And then we contacted the base POC and said, hey, you know, we want to do this. Can we do it in your chapel? Can we do it? And they picked 2 buildings that were low occupancy, low utilization, that we could specifically schedule that time. So we had keys, we had access, and we talked to the local users. That was Fort Benning, not Fort Hood. And it was a year and a half. No. Yeah, it was Fort Benning. It was about 2 years. Sorry. Yeah. No, we were in Benning. Sorry if that was an error. But I do recognize that capturing video and photos of installation without the proper clearances, and you're also, all of these are web applications that are in the cloud. So you have to trust Struction Site or Matterport to hold your information secure. None of this is on-prem type hardware. So it's used widely in the commercial space because that is reasonable, but not everybody will allow that for every building. Any other questions? So yeah, go check out the video. Call us if you have any questions on the virtual assessments. And now we're down to 10 minutes, and we're going to talk about the COVID response. Thank you.